want Levy out.
When is your breaking point? Tell me. When are you going to learn that we're doing it for the good of
We sang in the rain, we sang in the sun, and we sang in the rain. They're trying to stop us, look what they did. The thing I don't want to say is leave it out, leave it out, leave it out. The thing I don't want to say is leave it out, leave it out, leave it out.
Hi guys, it's Dino here. I'm here at the protest, as you can see.
We want leave it out, we want leave it out, we want leave it out.
It's very bright, there's the stadium.
We want leave it out.
Now I hear there's going to be loads of protests in the stadium, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, but it's all peaceful. Please come and join us if you fancy having a little say of what you want. And yeah, leave you out.
Welcome to Spursvasion TV. Right, good evening to all you guys in Asia, and good morning to all you guys in Asia, those who are reaching mornings, right? And of course, good morning, good afternoon, and to all you guys in Europe, and of course, good afternoon or good morning to wherever you are around the world, right? Hi guys. Of course, first of all, I need to say, give a shout out to West Ham, right? We should be ashamed, right? West Ham has won a cup even before we won a cup, right? And of course, I would say congratulations to Big Ange, right? Big Ange, he's our club manager now at last. After don't know how many 60 over days or nearly 70 days, we've got a club manager. Today, I'm doing this show is just specially just to, talk about our owners, our board of directors, and all that. Do an in-depth study. Most probably, I'll be reading it out from Wikipedia. What our owners and our club directors and our chairman have and on their CV and all that. But don't be surprised. I've read it through. Most of them don't have much football knowledge. While I'm doing this, I'll be waiting on to see any more guests will be joining me, right? While I do this thing. Okay, guys, just bear with, right? Of course, the first person that I'm going to go through is, of course, Joseph C. Lewis, right? And big up to Say No More Gov. Big up, right? Thanks for joining me, right? And for all those you viewers are out there, right? So at the moment now, let me see what I've got, right? Joseph C. Lewis, right? According to the Sunday Times Rich List, right, in 2023, right, Lewis has a net worth of 5.96 billion pounds, okay? An increase of 811 million pounds from 2022. Okay, so that means he's gotten richer, right? Of course, he's gotten richer, right? And of course, Lewis is the majority shareholder of the Premier League club football team called Tottenham Hotspur, right? How he came to become the owner of the Spurs, right? We will go through that. Of course, we know that through his early life, right? He was, of course, what called born to a public house in above Roman Road, or called Bow, London. Lewis left school at 15 to help run his father's West End catering business, Tavistock Banqueting. That's why I guess Tavistock is his major holdings now, right? And of course, Tavistock is big in Miami, if I'm not mistaken, right? They own a lot of land there, they own a lot of projects there and all that, right? And of course, when he took the reins, he quickly expanded it by selling luxury goods to American tourists, okay? And of course, at the end of the day, he went on and did more business, and he was into currency trading, right? After selling the family business in the late 70s, right? Lewis moved into currency trading in the 90s and 80s, right? Resulting in his move into the Bahamas for what called tax reasons, right? Or we call it tax exile, right? In September 1992, he teamed up with George Soros, right? And bet on the pound crashing, right? And as we know, right, he made a lot of money from that too, right? So From there, of course, we talk about Tavistock Group. Lewis is the main investor, Tavistock Group, right, which owns more than 200 companies in 15 countries. Okay, Tavistock Group is a big group, right? And I guess they're a lot into properties too, right? They're a lot into property, right? So, and of course, we'll go on. Of course, Lewis, of course, the Tavistock Cup tournament, right, in 2024. Okay, he raised a lot of money there, right? And let me bring on Rez for a while. He's just joined us. Hi, Rez. I know you just finished off. You just finished off with Tottenham. We had Tottenham TV, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah. And welcome, Brian. Brian Daigle. How you doing, brothers?
Brian's just finished on We Are Tottenham TV as well.
You too. Yes.
I'm also giving the link to Danny Kiriakou, who's just finished on We Are Tottenham TV, who might be here
if
later.
we can get brains, then we've got the full package.
Exactly. Exactly. We cover the gross.
Yeah.
This is great though, because someone else is hosting, so I can say what the fuck I like.
Yeah. You can say what. No, today that's what I'm doing, Rez, right? You were saying the other day while I was doing the show on the Levy Out show, right? Why don't we just talk about our owners, our chairman, our board of directors, and just go through it, expose them, right? Yeah. Talk about them, and at least someone else is talking about them, right? Big up Danny. Big up Danny. Danny, if you, I'm sure you can join us if you're free, right? We'll call Brian, send you the link, right? I was just going through, right? The most of the information we get it out of Wikipedia, right? At the moment now, I'm looking at Joe Lewis. He made another extra 111 million pounds, right, in 2022 to bring his wealth up to now 5 billion pounds. Okay, he's a 5 billion pound man now, right? 5 billion pound man, right? And of course, we're talking about his holdings in ENIC. He's the majority shareholder, and there's a weird part that he's actually put 50% of that holdings in ENIC into a trust, if I'm not mistaken, right? Maybe that's to protect certain scenarios that he'll be in, right? Rest. We know that rich people usually do that, right? To move the money around. And we know when rich people do that, maybe that he's got some plans coming up, or maybe that's due to his old age and all that, okay? But I'm also looking at now Tavistock Group, right? Tavistock Group is a big group, which I guess Mari should be more or less the expert on that. But what do you guys think at the moment, right? Joseph C. Lewis, our owner. When guys, I got only one question. When was the last time that we've actually seen him in a game?
We've only seen him twice. He's only been to a game twice.
In the whole 23 years of his ownership of the club, twice. When was that?
Years ago, before COVID.
Was it during the League Cup final, the League Cup that we won? Was he there? No.
He's only ever been to 2 Tottenham games, and both of them were at our stadium. The thing you got to remember, he's not interested in football.
Yeah,
he's not interested in football.
Yeah, he's not interested in football. Right, big up to Stinging Nettle. Yep, and Dyer out, Sanchez out. Yep, most of them's out, right? But today, our main focus is talking about our owners, our club directors, our chairman, Lewis. He's this hermit of a billionaire, right? He lives, if I'm not mistaken, right? He lives on a 112 million pound yacht off of the Bahamas.
Correct.
112 million pound yacht.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And,
also has over $1 billion art collection.
Yeah. Yeah. And think about it, $1 billion art collection, right? He's got like Matisse. I mean, he's got all the names that the art collectors have. Imagine $1 billion. $1 billion art collection.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, and that value could only go up, right? When we talk about art, right? So, and for what being a Spurs fan is that we've not seen our owner in the stadium, right? That clearly shows he's got no interest in football. So Spurs is just another investment to him, whether it's property wise, right, and for value wise, if I see it, right. And if in the end of the day, if he does sell Spurs, right, that could add another couple of billion pounds to his wealth.
Doesn't quite work that way. This is the thing. Look,
What I've tried to sort of convey to people, the super wealthy don't live like us. Yeah. Eugen, Brian, me, the people that we know. Let's say we've got work that pays us, say, £200 a week, right? We go out, we do the job, we get paid, and we got £200 in our pocket. We think in terms of £200. What can you do with 200 quid? You can buy a meal, a good meal out, a night out. You can pay a few bills, stuff like that, right? When you're talking about wealth in the billions, yeah, the thing you've got to bear in mind is that all of these people that own these billions, they don't have that as cash, right?
Course,
there isn't enough cash in the world, right?
Of course,
For the amount of wealth that there is in the world, there isn't enough cash to cover that, right? This is actually modern banking, yeah? It's all done on what's known as it's all done on a promise, yeah? If you hold, say, a £10 note in your hand, that note itself, the paper, the ink, is not worth £10. Right? Yep. If you boil it down to what it's made of, it's not worth £10. What that's saying is that if you go to the Bank of England, let's say if it's an English £10 note, if you go to the Bank of England and ask them, they will give you £10 worth of something, right? Generally gold, right?
Yep.
But the note itself does not have a value of £10. It's just a promise of getting something that's worth £10 if you ask for it. So when you talk about the ultra wealthy, for them, they are so far removed from you, me, Brian, the people that we know, because they can't think in those terms. Because it's not like they've got a bank account somewhere that says 5 billion, and then if they sell Spurs, that goes up by 2 billion. It doesn't work like that. It's all done in stock. It's all done on ownership. That's why Joe Lewis has a $1 billion art collection. It's because that is how his wealth exists. Whereas my wealth exists with how much money I've got in my bank account, right? Yeah. And one or two assets that I might have, like a car or a house or something like that. Mm-hmm. So right now, if Joe Lewis sells Tottenham Hotspur, his personal wealth will not go up, right? Because his personal wealth is already contained within Tottenham Hotspur. That's where his wealth actually exists.
Okay. That means the calculation of £5 billion, right?
Includes his ownership of Tottenham Hotspur. Yes. Okay. In the same way that Daniel Levy, if he didn't get a salary from Tottenham Hotspur, he's the highest paid Premier League chairman, having accomplished fuck all. Mm-hmm. He's still the highest paid Premier League chairman. That's a good count. That's a logical equation, isn't it? But Daniel Levy is a billionaire.
Yep.
Because he owns one particular asset that is worth so much that it makes him a billionaire. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When rich people do need cash, let's say to pay their slaves, right? What they do is that they go to a bank and they say, can you lend us some cash, please? We need actual what's known as liquid money, right? And the bank will say, certainly. What will you do to make sure that we get our money back? They'll say, well, we've got this wonderfully valuable asset. Please lend us. Look, we're very good risk. And so they will be lent money at a very, very low interest rate. So low that a little way down the line, inflation makes the value of that money go down. So when they pay it back, they actually pay back less than they borrowed. Mm-hmm. Okay, in terms of value. Yeah. And so this is what we have to understand. The ultra rich do not live the way we do. Yeah. And for them, it's not a case of I'm going to take this, build it and sell it. It's I'm going to take this and build it, and then later I'll swap it for something. When let's say, for instance, Joe Lewis sells Tottenham Hotspur, he won't sell the club for money. He'll sell the club for something else, and his value, the value of his wealth, will stay around the same amount. So it's not a calculation designed to sell for profit, if that makes sense. And a lot of people make that mistake. They think, well, ENIC haven't sold for ages, so obviously they're not interested in profit. No, they're interested in growing an asset, which they have done. Whether or not they get rid of it depends on what they are offered in return.
That's fair. Right. Big up to Chris Stone. Big up. Thanks for being on. Steak. Big up Steak. Okay, Liverpool for life. Yeah, big up Jordan. Big up. And of course to Leo. Big up my husband. Big up Leo. Yeah, big up everyone. Right. But okay, we're coming back down to it, right? And I understand Joe Lewis has actually he's the owner of ENIC with Daniel Levy.
Yeah.
Right. When he invested into our club, he basically doesn't have any interest in the football at all, right? He's just interested in building and growing that brand for the future. Let's say now 23 years later, right? We've won shit all, right, as a football club, right? But that brand has grown from, let's say, they put in what, 68 million pounds when they bought it from Sugar?
120 million.
120 million pounds. Now it's become valued at maybe 3 billion pounds or 2.8 billion pounds, right? That's something like you 1,000 folds, 2,000 folds your money, or something like that, right? So, but of course, that value you're saying now, that if he sells now, whether his valuation of his wealth, right, is included the Spurs, because it's not the cash, let's say something tangible, like what you say, holding gold, right? It's a tangible wealth. Keeping art, a $1 billion art collection is a tangible wealth, where something you can put your hands on. With all the promissory notes that we hold in our hand, is still a promissory note, because promissory note might be valued at zero in 5 years' time, for all we know, right? But of course, that will go into economics and all that, right? But I'm coming back to this now. Being an owner with no interest in the football at all, right? Only interest is just making money out of the brand, and maybe along the way accumulate property in the surroundings of the Tottenham area, right? Because we do know the Tottenham area is not a prime area, right? In London, right? It's not at the highest value, like, you're talking like Mayfair, or where Chelsea is. Chelsea is at more prominent, more affluent area in London. So maybe what they're trying to do now, right, is to turn that area, right, into something where they can actually cash out on when the time is right. Right.
Again, you're making the mistake of thinking that they are interested in profit. They're not interested in profit. They're interested in wealth.
Growing wealth, right? Okay. The fact is that, let's say growing wealth. But of course, while Lewis is doing this, right, with his holding company called Tavistock, they've invested in, of course, a lot of things, like, in the Orlando side, in the Miami State and all that. They've got like Lake Nona and all that. And of course, there is the controversy of Lewis having this Escondido Lake controversy that he was actually tied into. And if I'm not mistaken, that is somewhere in, where was that?
PG, 1 second, I'm going to have to leave. Ilana's going to speak to me before I say.
All right.
So I've got
okay.
to speak.
All right. Yeah. I'll catch up with you later, Brian.
Yeah,
speak later, right? All right. There goes Ryan. Right. Yeah. He's got things to do.
You'll forgive me for eating grapes, but I've not had any lunch.
Yeah. I'm not going to go there. How many grapes can you put your mouth in, right? Yeah.
I got to 24, and they were big grapes.
Yeah, these are small grapes. Right. Okay, let's get down to this, right? Lewis, right, and the Argentina controversy that he had. Okay.
Yeah.
Being the rich that they are, that's what they usually do, right? Acquire property, land, and all that from the people who can't actually fight back, right? And by using his wealth and his influence in the government and by using the law against the people, right? That's how they get a lot of their wealth from. Okay, so as I see it, in the end of the day, Joe Louis, right, who lives in a yacht in the Bahamas, right, and with totally no interest in Spurs at all, right? Will he at one period of time will say that if he has actually, let's say, because they're not mistaken, he owns about 70% of ENIC, right?
82%, 73%.
73% of ENIC, right? That means 27% belongs to Daniel Levy.
It's 72, 27%. 27% of ENIC is owned by Levy.
Yeah. So if that's the way, and he's put 50% of ENIC into a trust now, right? That means he's got about 20.
That I don't know. I don't know that Joe Louis cannot do anything with Daniel Levy's share of ENIC without Daniel Levy.
No.
Doing the same thing. So,
maybe 50% of his part of his shares of ENIC
right
into a trust.
Possibly
gives him a balance of now 23%, right? But
he still owns that
73%.
Yeah, if he's put it into trust, I'm not sure how it works with stock ownership. That's the thing. He might have put it into a trust. He might. I mean, ultimately, the thing you got to bear in mind here with Tavistock Group, Jesus, yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about too, right? But I didn't want to say it out loud.
The thing about sort of the ownership of ENIC and the club itself, or sorry, Tavistock Group, is that Tavistock Group is not even a sort of incorporated per se entity. It's not a company. There's no like company meetings that done according to how, say, a publicly traded company would be, like your big companies like McDonald's and Coca-Cola and stuff like that, or even a smaller privately owned company. It's more a group, as the name suggests. It's a group of companies, all sort of overseen by a family, essentially. So the way I think that's done deliberately as well, mainly for tax purposes, I would imagine. Mainly, what we know of Joe Louis is that he is essentially a currency speculator, right? That's one of the things that he thinks. He was also involved in Bear Stearns, which is an insurance company that folded during the credit crunch, or because of the credit crunch. He owns things, basically. That's really what he does. He owns things, right? And in a way, what people sort of need to also understand about the ownership of the club is that one of the things we hear a lot of is, oh, they've got to put money into the club. They've got to pump money in. And yeah, they do. Don't get me wrong. They do need to do that. But these are individuals who aren't actually particularly cash rich, right? Okay. They're asset rich, but they're not very cash rich. Yeah. They don't have a lot of liquid, as they're called, liquid money lying around that they can move about, right? If they do want to produce liquid money, the two ways they do it will be either borrowing it from a bank or a finance institution, or selling an asset for cash, which is very rare because most of the things they own are so valuable that you can't get cash for it. It was like a few years ago, Rupert Murdoch, when he bought 20th Century Fox, it almost destroyed him because he made a cash offer. Or it was like when Elon Musk bought Twitter. It wasn't that, I don't think that was a full cash thing, but because there was so much cash involved, it was a big problem for him. That's why he tried to pull out of the deal. Again, we've got to start understand the biggest problem. I talk about this. We like to talk about games, right? because we watch football. We like to talk about players because they play the games. We like to talk about managers because they direct the players. And as you know, I just hosted a nearly an hour and a half show in which the main topic of conversation was Postecoglou. However, we need to stop focusing on those things as players, or we need to think of those as secondary priorities and focus on the ownership. And to do that, we need to not necessarily understand it fully, because that's a profession in and of itself, but at least understand some of the basics of how those with that kind of money operate, so that we don't turn around and say, oh, they're in it just for profit. No, they're in it to take the small amount they have invested and turn that into something huge. Not even necessarily to sell it, but so it can give them choices when they want to do other things. So let's say, for instance, Joe Lewis sees something worth £2 billion and he thinks, yeah, I quite like that. I'd like to buy that. How do I buy it? I know, I'll offer half of my stake in Tottenham for this other thing. Yeah. No cash has exchanged hands. All that's happened is one rich person has swapped something they have with another rich person and something they have. There's no cash there. They're not there. They don't need cash to live a luxurious lifestyle. Quite the opposite, in actual fact. Cash disappears. That's why it's called liquid. Yeah, it dribbles through your fingers. It disappears into channels and moves. They are interested in assets. Yeah, and Tottenham Hotspur, the overall entity, is a very valuable asset, not just because of the amount it is worth now compared to how much they spent to get it, but also because it opens doors to other asset ownership, most especially in the regeneration of Tottenham area. Yeah. So like with the arcade of shops that is due for removal that the Chick King is part of, what will happen?
Wait, Rest. What? You mean they are going to, they really bought that block? They're going to demolish it?
No. What's happened is that, from what I understand, there's going to be basically a compulsory purchase order laid down by a council to basically regenerate that arcade of shops into a new arcade of shops with luxury flats above it, which some people have resisted. And now I think basically the only way to get around that resistance is by something in this country called a compulsory purchase order, which basically states that an entity has the right, a legal entity, a governmental entity, has the right to make a purchase if they can prove that it is done for specific reasons, which I think they now have. And so it's due for removal. The Chick King is going to go and they're going to regenerate the shops and build some flats above it. You know that the types of shops that are going to come in are going to be Costa, McDonald's, you know, your chain store, Starbucks, things of that nature. It's not going to be the family-owned businesses that currently exist there. But with Daniel Levy there as the gatekeeper to that regeneration, he will be in an excellent position to take advantage of any regeneration that comes along, be it as a direct property developer or as someone who facilitates for people who want to come in and make money from the regeneration of Tottenham. Now, the thing that I'm saying, the regeneration of Tottenham is not a bad thing. Okay. Tottenham is a very deprived area. It's one of the most deprived areas in London and one of the most deprived areas in the country. However, and if someone wants to regenerate Tottenham, and if someone wants to make a profit from regenerating Tottenham, I have no issue with that. What I have an issue with is owning our football club and not making it successful on the pitch because you're focusing on that, because everything is going into that. If you want to do that, go and do it. More power to your elbow. I don't care, right? As long as you're investing in my football club. If you're not investing in my football club, you can fuck off. Simple as that.
But like what you've been saying, right? Joe Lewis, after buying Spurs from Alan Sugar, right? The whole buyout, I think, ended in 2001. That's when ENIC got the full control of Spurs from Alan Sugar.
No, they became majority stakeholders.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I keep forgetting. There's still another 13.
Sorry, the largest stakeholder in Spurs. Sorry.
Largest, because there's another 13.5% of individual stakeholders, right?
No. Again, that's not quite right. There is 18% of
18%.
Tottenham Hotspur is owned by private shareholders.
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, Levy in his Cambridge interview said something like there are 30,000 over 30,000 people who hold shares in that 18%.
Yeah, that's right. But this is again, this demonstrates that they're not interested in football. Okay, because when ENIC first took over from Alan Sugar, I think the percentage of the club that they actually purchased from him was something like 26% or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay? So they were the biggest stakeholder, but they were not a majority stakeholder. So what that meant is that they couldn't do anything without other shareholders' approval, right?
True. Yeah.
They needed to get in any kind of company like that, you need 51% to carry any kind of vote. That is why they then spent more money to purchase as much of the shareholding as they could, and then ended up with the 82% that they own now. That is the extra 100 million or so, or 80 million, I think it was something like that, that they spent in the second round of ownership. Because once that happened, that's it. You can have 400 billion shareholders owning 18% of Tottenham Hotspur. It won't make a difference because they carry the vote every time. What they have done is that they've turned Tottenham Hotspur into a closed shop that they can do with whatever they want. Yeah, they could shut the club down tomorrow and no one could stop them.
That's true. And during that tenure, right, while that was happening, they have not actually injected any of their own personal money into the club all this while. Has there any record of them injecting money into the club?
I think it was not in terms of an actual direct injection. The problem you've got to bear in mind is that a direct injection is not always something that's possible to do anyway, right? Because of the manner in which ownership is done. You know, you need to do capital investments into a club. You can't just say, I mean, look at Manchester City. Everyone knows that they've poured money into Manchester City, the Emirati owners. Everyone knows they have, but the way that they did it, they had to do it sneakily.
They provide it as, you know, sponsorships.
These weird sponsorships with all of those things in order to get the money in, because you can't just pour money into a football club.
Yeah. That's against the rules.
Chelsea is the same. Chelsea, the money that they got from Abramovich, the way that they got it was from interest-free loans from his handling. So on the balance sheets for Chelsea, while he was the owner, there would have been nearly £1 billion worth of debt, essentially owed to, I've forgotten the name of the company, his investment firm. Right, that was a debt that remained on their books until such time as Todd Bowley took over. I don't know what the accounting for it was, but you can't just pour money into a club. The Leicester City owners tried to do something like that, and now they ran foul of FFP because you can't just pour money into a club, basically.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so that means basically, even though, let's say, but of course, last season. They did say that they're going to inject up to £150 million, right? To
even
do the share. Yeah, there was a way of saying, to dilute shares and all that. They will get more shares of the club, right? Because
it was a purchase order type thing. Yeah, similar to that. I'm not entirely sure the manner, but even then, the 150 million wasn't into Tottenham Hotspur itself. Into the football club. It was to the entity, the umbrella organization that covers Tottenham Hotspur Stadium Limited, Tottenham Hotspur Entertainment, or whatever it's called. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is another part of that umbrella that is comprised of 27 odd companies, something like that. You know, they're all there's like Tottenham Hotspur Land Purchase or Tottenham Hotspur something like that. It's all got Tottenham Hotspur in the name, but they're not all Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Tottenham Hotspur Football and Athletic Club is a very teeny tiny part of that overall umbrella. The main asset, for ENIC, is the stadium. That is the thing that value to the Tottenham Hotspur umbrella organization and to ENIC above them.
And hi, Les, how you doing? Just back from work, I see. Yeah. Because today, I was supposed to do this show last week, but somehow or another, a lot of people were free, and I got on what called Jordan.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to abandon you shortly as well, I'm afraid.
Yeah. No worries, right? Because I'm doing this as a show where, like I said, getting to know our owners, our board of directors, and of course, our chairman and all that along the way. We'll do this slowly. There's no rush into it because, like today, our subject is Joseph C. Lewis. We were trying to understand that why he bought the club. Now we understand that why he bought the club, because it's got nothing to do with football. It's just pure asset growth,
wealth generation
and asset growth, right? So that in the end of the day, his portfolio gets bigger, and of course we talk about Tavistock Group, which is, and because it's not even called Tavistock Private Limited Company or something like that, right? It's called Tavistock Group.
It's not incorporated.
It's not incorporated, right? So, it's just like a piece of paper. I write down Tavistock Group owns this.
Yes.
Right. So that's the weird part, right? And maybe that's why you say, rest of say, it's more for the purpose of evading taxes.
We can't say that for certain. We don't know what the tax status is. We just know that Tavistock Group itself is just a group of people. There's no incorporation, or if there is, it's very marginal.
Maybe it could be just a group of companies, right? Which is owned by a group of people, right?
Yeah,
and that group of people could be just Lewis's.
They're the Lewis's family. They're the Lewis family, basically, and the Levy family. The thing you got to bear in mind, the way that Daniel Levy knows Joe Lewis is through Abraham Levy. Abraham Levy is Daniel Levy's father. Daniel Levy's father, Abraham Levy, knew Joe Lewis personally. That's why I refer to Joe Lewis as Uncle Joe, because that's essentially that kind of relationship that Daniel Levy has with Joe Lewis. He was introduced via his father's friendship with Joe Lewis. Abraham Levy is also the one who created the Levy family's wealth with a company called Mr. Byright in the United Kingdom. That's how they made their wealth. It was East End. Essentially, Abraham Levy was like Joe Lewis is now. He's a bit of an East End Barrow boy come good. He's a bit like Alan Sugar. Alan Sugar started off just selling stuff and found various things and jumped in at the right time and made some money from it, basically. With Daniel Levy, it is all about property speculation. It's all about land value. That's all he knows. He knows nothing about football. He never did. He said it himself. Even when they bought Tottenham Hotspur, they said, "We are doing this because that's where the money is. That's where the money is." Right? That's all they care about. They don't care about football. They just care about money. And fine, if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Just don't do it with my football club.
Yeah. And of course, from there, we will seamlessly move into the Daniel Philip Levy, owner, chairman of our club, right?
Actually, that's slightly inaccurate. He is an owner, but he's the chairman and CEO of Tottenham Hotspur.
But he's never actually called himself the CEO, right, Res?
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Then what is Donna Cullen?
He calls himself that all the time.
Oh, Donna Cullen is the executive director based on she's
the string puller.
Yeah.
She's the puppet master.
Yeah. But of course we're going one person at a time here, right? Moving on from Joe Lewis. Now we're moving on to Daniel Philip Levy, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Daniel Philip Levy comes from he did his studies in Cambridge, right? Yeah. And of course, we know that he's the second highest shareholder in Spurs, right? And from his interviews that we've...
No, he's not.
Huh?
No, he's not. He is the second. He is the minority shareholder of ENIC. and ENIC
Minority
are the majority shareholder of Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's the
Tottenham Hotspur group, or whatever the grouping is, not necessarily even the club itself directly.
Yeah. So at this moment in time, of course, Daniel Levy, from the interview that he had with the Cambridge, Cambridge
Union.
Society, Cambridge Union. Yeah, Cambridge Union, right? A lot of things came out that we were quite surprised that we found out about him personally and all that, right? And his view of Spurs and all that. But at this moment, right, let's say we go through his Wikipedia, right? It will say something like this. This picks up. Daniel Philip Levy, born in 8 February 1962, English businessman, current chairman of Premier League Football Club. He has held this post since 2001, making him the longest serving chairman in the Premier League, right?
And highest paid.
And highest paid. Not the
That doesn't come up on the Wikipedia. I wonder who's been editing it, Donna.
Who's been editing it, right? Early life, of course, was born in Essex, right? And then, of course, he went to Sydney, Sussex College.
Sydney College, Cambridge.
Yeah, Cambridge, right? Graduated 1985, first class honors degree in economics
and land management.
Land economy, right? His career after graduation, he went into his family business, Mr. Bright. Okay.
Mr. Byright.
Byright. Okay, Mr. Byright and property development. What does Mr. Byright do actually?
Mr. Byright were like a cheap clothes retailer. So essentially, it was like a poor man's Primark for those watching in the UK who know what Primark is. Primark sells cheap but good quality, not great quality, but decent quality clothes at a cheap price, right? Mr. Byright sold shit quality clothes at a very cheap price.
Okay, all right. And after that, he went into investment banking and in investing in private equity, raising money to invest in many companies. Then he formed a business association with Joe Lewis and investment trust called ENIC International Limited. He became manager in 1995.
ENIC stands for the English National Investment Company.
Yeah, and of course, turned ENIC into a sports and entertainment and media company. Okay, guys, the big word there is the entertainment part.
And
well, I mean, look, we do need to play an honest bat with this one, okay? Football does fall under the entertainment banner, and it always has. All right. There's nothing wrong outside of any political philosophy that one might have. There's nothing wrong with a company wanting to use entertainment to make a profit. Or to grow an asset. That's fine. The difference comes when you're talking about sport. Sport has to have another objective. What ENIC seemed to act like is it doesn't actually matter what happens on the pitch as long as the product is put there for people to consume. This is where it gets problematic. This is why I don't believe in the private ownership of football clubs, because football clubs are not just entertainment. They are also community assets, because it is a group of people of very, very disparate and different backgrounds and beliefs and creeds, and I hate to use the term colors and religions, and any demographic you want to slice, you will find a variety of it in a football club. Therefore, it's a community asset, and therefore it has to be run purely for the needs and desires of that community and not its ownership. This is why ENIC are not fit for purpose, because they do not run the football club for the needs, desires, and benefits of the community it belongs to. They run it for their benefit. And that is unacceptable. It doesn't matter if he's done a good job or a bad job. It doesn't matter all that. That is the key one. But when you get past that, if you do believe in private ownership of a football club, even then, ENIC have failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then here says, right, Res, Levy and his family, right, owns 29.4% of the share of ENIC, while
There you
Lewis
go.
owns 70.6% of
Right.
ENIC.
That's
So then you get and of course it goes on to that. When they first started, they bought clubs like Rangers,
yes,
Canton, Slava Prague, FC
Yes.
Baz, and
Yes.
Vincenza, right? And of
Vincenza.
course,
And
and then
Brazil.
Vincenza, they used to own that, right? And of course,
Yes.
the companies such as Warner Brothers Restaurants and the Cambridge software company Autonomy, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Yeah. And
If you
he
remember,
bought-
Autonomy sponsored us for a season at one point, which is again exactly what Man City did with Etihad sponsoring Man City, right? Again, remember, these people are the ultra rich. They don't work the way we do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And of course, in 2001, they bought a significant stake in Spurs and then he became the chairman. But all the clubs were eventually sold due to UEFA rules, right, and all that. Then we come to Tottenham Hotspur, right? Levy is the first. Okay, Levy first made an attempt to buy Spurs from Alan Sugar in July 1998, but failed. Another attempt was made in July 2000, but again it was rejected. However, increased hostility by fans towards Sugar eventually persuaded him to sell. Right, Levy was appointed to the board of Spurs on 20th December 2000 after ENIC initiated a purchase of 27% stake in the club, right, from Sugar for 22 million pounds. So the first buy-in they bought in was only a 27% stake.
Yes, as I say, they became the biggest shareholder, but not the majority shareholder. The biggest shareholder is the shareholder that had the most shares. The majority shareholder is the one that owns more than 50%.
But wait, because during that time, right, Spurs were listed on the stock market.
Spurs have been listed on the stock market since 1983.
Yes. During that time, they were listed on the stock market. That's why, right, after that, they went on and bought more shares, right, to bring their stakes up to 29.9%. That was the maximum permissible for a single shareholder on a public listed company.
At that time.
At that time, right? But then what they did is that
they moved it to the alternative investment market.
No. Then what they did is that ENIC bid to buy the whole companies to replace Sugar. So for that to do, right, they had to delist the company.
Yes.
They had to delist Spurs from the stock market. So then they only could buy over the more shares to get. Yes. Yeah.
Correct.
And of course, ENIC will eventually substantially increase shareholding, gain shareholding after that by buying shares, blah, 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 right? As well as all those other shareholders, eventually acquiring up to 85.55% of Tottenham Hotspur, right? Then ENIC moved the club into a private ownership in 2012.
Yes.
And it does say here, right? Levy became the highest paid Premier League chief executive with an annual remuneration of £6 million. And that was
it's now 6.75 million pounds.
Now it's 6 million. And no, wait. But that's the disclaimer here, right? That was in 2016 to 2017 season. That when he was getting up to £6 million, right?
Plus a dividend he gave himself recently as well, a few years ago.
He gave himself a dividend? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Well, ultimately, he owns most of the shares, or ENIC did.
No, he gave himself a bonus, Res, £3 million bonus.
Right. Bonus,
that's bonus because of getting the stadium built.
Yeah.
After half a year of delay.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Okay.
Over budget and late, and he thinks that he deserves a bonus for that.
£500 million over budget and half a year delayed. And he got a £3 million bonus for that. Yeah. What to do? If you own the club and you're the chairman, right? You make whatever decisions you want. How would you call that?
So again, I would say to anyone, argue on those terms that football clubs should be privately owned. Make that argument knowing that. Yeah.
And then of course it
Look,
says the
guys,
manager.
I could be here forever talking about the
Yeah.
board, okay? Because it's
Yeah.
not just
No,
Daniel Levy, it's not just
no,
Joe
no.
Lewis. The message I always say is this: stop talking about Ange Postecoglou, stop talking about Harry Winks, stop talking about Harry Kane, stop talking about this. The names on every Spurs fan's lips should always be Joe Lewis, Daniel Levy, Donna Marie Cullen, Rebecca Capelhorn, Matthew Collicott, John Turner, Todd Klein, Rebecca Capelhorn, and Scott Munn, right?
Yeah.
These are the people that are running your football club, and they are running it for their purposes. They're
Yeah.
not football fans, or if they are football fans, they are money fans first, okay?
Yeah.
Until they are gone, or there are more football people, actual football people, like Ajax had with Edwin van der Sar being their president. Until that happens, don't expect anything from this football club. Do not expect us to win. Do not expect us to compete. Do not expect us to be anything other than also-rans that are just generating the money to make sure that the asset stays valuable. Okay? Because that's one thing that they do want to do. They still want to make money, but not because they want to take the money themselves. They want to make money to make sure that the value of the asset stays up. If the value of the asset drops, that is a problem for them. That's why you shouldn't spend in the club shop. That's why you shouldn't spend at the stadium. That's why you shouldn't spend in any of the businesses that are owned either directly or indirectly by the owners of the club. Because if you do that, if you remove that income and the value of the asset drops, then they'll take notice. Then they will say, we need to do something to get people spending again. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I've got to go. I'm sorry. I can't.
Yeah. But Red, are you doing any show tonight?
No. We're Shelfside Spurs show is on hiatus for the summer. We will be back when the window, when the season starts again, unless something big happens, in which case we might do it.
Rest, thanks for being on, right? Because I'll go through the balance of the things, because I don't do the show very long too. It's about an hour and then we end it, because this is part one, right? I keep telling you, we're going to do the next one. The next one will go to the other directors and all that. If you're free, you can hop on too. Right, Rest, thanks for being on.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.
Take care, Rest. Hey, send love to Kim. I could hear her behind there.
I will.
Big love you, Jane.
Yeah, big love, Kim. Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Right. All right.
Bro, what
Rest
are you
is
talking
gone.
about? I don't know a single thing about these people.
Yeah. I know. That's why we're doing now. That's why we're here, right?
Who's that?
Yeah. No. That's why we're doing it one step at a time. I've started this very nice and smoothly, because what we're doing now is very simple. I've done Joe Lewis with Rest earlier. Now we're just going through Daniel Levy. So I will just go through Daniel Levy quickly, right? I'm taking this all out of Wikipedia. Guys, if you want to find out and read more about this, you can find it in Wikipedia. But the managers...
an asshole, that's all.
Nah, it's okay. We just read out there, whatever is it. Managers that Levy has had: Glenn Hoddle, right? Jackson Tini, Martin Yeo, right? Juan de Ramos, Harry Redknapp, right? And of course, we're talking about after Redknapp. Who was after Redknapp? Andre Villas-Boas, right? Tim Sherwood, then came Pochettino, and then after Pochettino, we know who came after that.
Yeah.
Jose, Mason, Nuno, and Conte, and now we got Big Ange, right? But of course, whatever it is, what Rest says is true, right? That's why I'm doing this. I have not done shows on football. Okay, guys. Most probably I'll be ending the show quite soon too, right? Just get some thoughts from Elias. Thanks for Elias for joining me, right? Keeping me company. And of course, big love to Daniel Sandoval. And of course, Adi Vijaya, right? He's saying this is true, right? THFC is just not one of the most profitable club
Big up,
teams.
bro.
Yeah, it's the most imagine, we are the third most profitable sports entity in the world at the moment. The other two, no, we're third. We're third. The other two are NFL teams. The other two are NFL teams. We are third. And based on football, we are the number one most profitable team in the world on the sports of football, right? But of course, we are pleading poverty. But the thing is that in the end of the day, a lot of people say we don't spend money. We do, but we misspend the money, right? And it's all due to, this guy down here, right? Daniel Philip Levy, right? So whatever it is we're going through now is that this show that I'm doing, right, at this moment, at the juncture point in time, because everybody else are doing shows about players, everybody else are doing shows about the manager, Big Ange and all that. I go on shows and tell people, it doesn't matter, guys. right? If Levy's still there and Levy still got his hands into the pie, right, of trying to manage the football, guys, I tell you, Big Ange will be destroyed too, right? Strong characters like Jose, strong characters like Conte, right? I don't know how Big Ange is going to handle this, but I've gone to the stages that I ain't going to talk about transfers, I ain't going to talk about players, I ain't going to talk about the manager, because all of this is pointless. Because if our owners and the board of directors, which already we did a study on our majority shareholder owner, which is Joe Lewis, he doesn't care about football, right? He has only appeared twice in the past 23 years, right, watching a match. So we do know that he doesn't care about football, but of course we've got Levy in charge, right? And what Levy has done now, right, going all through all this, right, you can see that the development, right, to make money, it's number one. But the development of the football has never improved. It's always gone, I think it's gone stagnant or stale since after Redknapp, right? Because since after Redknapp that brought us into Champions League, we were hoping that it will go to the next level. It didn't. But when we brought in Pochettino, right, we thought that was another chance of going to the next level, and it still hasn't. Okay, so now what has happened now, right? What I'm trying to do is that we're trying to understand these people who are actually running our club, which we find out at the moment, very now moment, right? The two owners we have, their interest is not in football. Joe Lewis has got no interest in football. Joe Lewis' investment interest into Spurs is just to expand his wealth. Okay, that's all, right? Daniel Philip Levy, as our chairman, all these years, of course, he says he's a football fan himself, blah, blah, blah. But we've heard so many lies from him, right, that we can't trust what he says anymore, right? He's been pushed to his back is against the wall all the time, but somehow or another he gets to slip away from it, right? And the blame falls onto the next manager, and then it'll be the next manager until the next manager. But the only thing is that I just wonder, when will we fans, right, Spurs fans, say enough is enough, right? The managers are not the problem. You are the problem. Please stop meddling in the football, right? I'm not sure any of you guys watched the Tim Sherwood interview, right? If you watch the Tim Sherwood interview with Simon Jordan, right? Imagine, right, a manager of football club, right, being called into the chairman's office and asked, why isn't a player being played? If you don't play this player, right, it doesn't give him the value that we could sell him for. That shows that he meddles in the picking of the team, right? And even though Tim Sherwood says that, oh, it's not Levy's fault and all that, right? But maybe that's a certain way of saying things. And big up to Ellie, right? Yeah, shame and blame, Ellie, right? And of course, Jens is saying nothing's going to change. Unfortunately, Danny Boy is still trying to find out if Beyonce will come back and do a concert every Saturday at 1500 hours. If he does, right, he'll make more money that way. And most probably it'll be done before or after the game, right? So let's see how that goes. But what I'm saying is now, I'm going to do this show for the next, I guess, another few more weeks, because I've just gone through two persons in the list of our board directors. And I've got another, let me see how many more people. I've got Matthew Collicott, who is the operations and finance director. Donna Marie Cullen is actually just an executive director, right? And of course, Todd Klein is our chief commercial officer, which was supposed to be brought in to get us our stadium sponsorship. And guys, Rebecca Keppelhorn is director of football administration and governance. Okay, doesn't that mean that she's the DOF?
She is the.
Oh my gosh, right? And of course, we got Jonathan Turner, who is a non-executive director. And of course, there's one more name there, is Scott Munn. I can't add on yet because he hasn't started. He will most probably start, right, 1st of July, right? And of course,
Scott is not a board of director, basically.
But
Like
he's a
the
chief
club
finance.
director.
No. Once you get an appointment of chief finance, chief of football or something like that. See, as a chief footballing officer or something like that, right? You're considered part of the board. You see, same like Paratici, he was the director of football, so you're part of the board. You get what I'm saying? So, okay, Adi Vijay is saying the truth is Lewis always wants to sell the team, but nobody offers the right price for him to buy. 22 million pounds. Spurs a bit on MU. But to tell the truth, Adi, it is what it is, right? Let's see. At the moment now, we're waiting for the Qatar deal to collapse, right? With Manchester United. Manchester United, the Glazers are just pulling their strings, right? Glazers ain't going to sell MU, right? And the Qataris are going to get pissed off, right? Most probably they'll come back to buy Spurs, hopefully, right? But guys,
Yeah,
you got
by the
anything
way,
else
I
to
want
say?
to add on something. Actually, I just looked at Rebecca Keppel-Horn.
Yeah.
She seems to be the person like who has some form of qualifications related to football because she graduated from Loughborough University with a joint honors degree in physical education, sports science, and mathematics, which is at least somewhere related to football. So I don't know what her role in
Sports
the club.
science and mathematics, guys. Sports science and mathematics ain't football, right?
Physical
That's a
education.
totally
No, okay. The thing is,
Yeah.
it's at least related to sports somehow. And
Yeah,
the other thing is, he has worked in clubs in previous roles regarding both tennis and football somehow. So at least it makes sense that why she's in football administration and governance, whereas the rest of them they have nothing related to football. They are all either.
Oh, you're talking about Rebecca Keppel-Horn, yeah? Maybe, yeah,
Yes.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so
Maybe she's the
Jonathan
only one.
Turner, for instance, he has a degree in philosophy, politics, and economics.
Yeah.
Todd Klein has a degree in marketing and sales and that sort of stuff. Donna Maria Cullen, nothing to do with football, basically in management consultancy. Matthew Collecott, chartered accountant. All of them are money making. Rebecca Keppel-Horn is the only one that has something related to sports.
Something related to sports, right? And most probably won't be listened to anyway because Daniel Levy will make the decisions by himself, on himself, or maybe you just throw the dice and see what happens, or roll the magic 8 ball and see what answers come out from there. But guys, thanks for being on, right? Thanks to Rest. Sorry, Brian Daigle was on for a while, but didn't have much time to say anything. Thanks, Adi Vijaya. Thanks for being on. Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Ellie. Jens, Daniel Sandoval. Who else do we have? Say No More Gov, Ryan McFarlane, right? And of course, Elias is here. Leo was here earlier. Jordan was here earlier. Steak was here, right? Chris Stone, right? And of course, Stingy Nettle, right? Stingy Nettle. So I was asking us, Dyer out, Sanchez out, right? And Danny Kiriakou. Big up to you guys, right? Thanks, you guys, for coming on. Usually I do this Levy out shows. It ain't gonna be a long show. It's inning out shows, Levy out shows ain't long shows. We do it for about an hour. Today is part 1. Part 2 most probably come down to we'll go to the next 2 people that we will talk about for about an hour, right? Just to talk about them for the sake of talking about them. So our fan base will at least hear about them. The names that are being said out there that don't have anything to do with football, right? Number 1 is this guy who doesn't care about the football. Number 2, of course, is this guy, right, who doesn't know what to do about football. 23 years in charge of a football club, still not learning his mistakes about football. All right, guys, thanks for being on. Right, I'll catch up with you guys later. Number 1, and as always, right, not to forget, right, if you got earphones on, right, guys, put it down to a bit lower, right. This is going to be a bit loud. And guys, not to forget, and as always, Levy out.